This video is brought to you by Patreon.
Hello, my name's Jeffrey, this is my channel Recollect, and you're tuned in for another episode of I Beat Every Non-GTA Rockstar Game.
The title next up for discussion is not only one of my new favorite non-GTA Rockstar games, but potentially also one of my new favorite games, period. Of course, I'm talking about the one-of-a-kind game Bully, the first and only solely developed title from Rockstar Vancouver. Before their acquisition, Vancouver went as Barking Dog Studios and were responsible for two space-based strategy games, an FPS game titled Global Operations, as well as work on the original Counter-Strike. Interestingly enough, Bully is well regarded as one of Rockstar's best and most unique releases, and after beating it, I completely agree. But before I start to gush over this game, let me fill you in with its history. Bully was first available to us on the PS2 in 2006, but I decided to play the higher definition, more content-packed Scholarship Edition, which was released 2 years later in 2008. The Scholarship Edition was available on 3 platforms: Xbox 360, PC, which were both handled by Mad Doc Software, aka Rockstar New England, and also on the Wii, handled by Rockstar Toronto. I played the Xbox 360 version on my Series X, which has the game looking crisp. 10 years after the original release, Bully Anniversary Edition released on iOS and Android. That version is identical to the Scholarship Edition besides some enhanced graphics. The team behind that was Wardrum Studios, now known as Grove Street Games, who are responsible for all of Rockstar's mobile ports. Now technically I have played Bully before on the Wii, but it was so long ago and I barely remember a thing about it, so this playthrough was essentially a brand new experience for me. I want to state off the bat, I don't want to go over the petty controversy Bully was involved in around its release. It had to do with the problematic title, combined with Jimmy's edgy look, combined with Rockstar's violent reputation that altogether made people think a certain way, but upon playing, people realized it was actually not what they expected and was actually wholesome. Regardless, the game went under an alternate name in all PAL regions, that being Canis Canum Edit, Latin for dog eat dog, all because of the somewhat controversial name of the original. That part of the game's history I don't care that much about. What I do want to discuss is how cleverly crafted, polished, fun, addicting, and unique Bully is as a gaming experience. So without further ado, let's get into it. To fill you in with the story of Bully, it follows a 15-year-old named Jimmy Hopkins who is forced to attend the private boarding school Bulworth Academy. While there, he befriends senior student Gary Smith, who's obsessed with the idea of controlling the school. Gary starts off as an ally, but after seeing Jimmy build a reputation at the school, he starts to get paranoid and betrays him. From there on, Gary continues his quest to take over while Jimmy attempts to bring peace to Bulworth by uniting the school's 5 main cliques. Those including the jocks, the nerds, the preppies, the bullies, and the greasers. Later on in the story, a 6th group gets involved called the Townies, which is comprised of previous Bulworth dropouts. The story is told in 6 chapters, with each following Jimmy as he goes from clique to clique, helping, fighting, doing missions for, and eventually taking leadership over each. While completing those required story missions, you're given the option to attend classes. Classes have specific start and end times, and each have 5 levels of difficulty. Completing them fills out your report card as well as grants you in-game items and skills. A lot of this stuff we'll dive into later. Throughout the game, you will meet many new characters, witness the seasons change, and unlock new sections of the open world. Besides the main Bulworth campus, those sections include Old Bulworth Vale, New Coventry, Bulworth Town, and the Blue Skies Industrial Park. Each part of the map feels very distinct, extremely detailed, enjoyable to roam around in, and is overall the perfect size. I really enjoy an open world game like this where the map isn't overwhelming and instead a little smaller and cozy feeling. You might be wondering how the Scholarship Edition differs from the original PS2 version. Well, the biggest changes include 4 new class types, new characters, 8 new missions, the inclusion of a 2-player minigame mode, enhanced graphics, and added rewards and achievements. If not obvious, this is the definitive way to play Bully. Overall, when it comes to the story here, I'm a ginormous fan. The premise is genius in my opinion. There are so many elements to the writing that feel so Rockstar, with my favorite writing coming from the preppies in particular.
Is it true you said I was inbred? No, because first cousins is legal, my friend. Legal. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and just because my elder brother doesn't have a chin and ended up in a lunatic asylum, it doesn't mean anything.
Sure, the story contains some topics that maybe didn't age all too great, but man, the ideas present here, the characters, the mission design, it's all so clever and unlike any other game. Because Bully wasn't much of a hard game at all, my coverage on the title won't be so much focused on how I beat it for this Rockstar challenge. Instead, I just want to discuss all that there is to do in the game and share my thoughts on why I think Bully is a masterpiece. Now, there's a lot of variety when it comes to the gameplay here in Bully, but most of the game can be boiled down to either participating in classes or completing story missions. Let's first look at the classes. In Scholarship Edition, you have a class for chemistry, English, art, gym, shop, photography, with the added classes being geography, music, math, and biology. Each class is essentially a different mini-game meant to loosely connect to the real-life class equivalent. Many of them are simple rhythm games, while others require skills not usually necessary in a video game, like the ability to spell for English class, the ability to identify points on the map for geography, and the ability to do math for math class. I was not anticipating this unique of gameplay going in. Reliving the days where I had to be in classes like this for school was really a special experience. Other classes contain gameplay accurate to what the real life class might require of you. Like I said before, attending class was technically optional. You can actually just complete the main story and forget about all of them, but why when they're so fun? While playing, I didn't know whether participating in class was required or not, so from the beginning, I tried to make it to class pretty often. If you choose to skip the class though, there's authorities who are wandering around the map and they'll start to search for you, and if successful, will force you to attend. Like I mentioned earlier, there are 5 levels to each, with each of course receiving a difficulty increase. I did complete some of the courses all the way, but not all since it wasn't required to beat the game. I just made sure to play each a couple times and then moved on. Don't get me wrong, I attended a lot of classes, just some I got further in than others. The whole concept of going to class and needing to receive a certain grade to pass, all to fill out a report card, is just so damn clever. Upon completing classes, you earn relevant skills, like gym class gives you fighting skills, English gives you NPC speech skills, geography gives you map reading skills, shop unlocks new bikes to ride, chemistry unlocks new weapons, among many other earnable skills and items from other classes. I loved the class minigames. Some were harder than others, which we'll discuss later, but overall they were a great way to break up the story missions. With those story missions, they mostly consist of perform this task, fetch this item, beat up this enemy, win this race, all objectives that you would normally see in a Rockstar game. You might be doing a mission for a clique leader, a teacher, a hobo, a hospital orderly, a carnival worker, the lunch lady, a wannabe Santa. It's really bonkers how many different types of characters you interact with during the story. An element of the game I love so much is how everything is time dependent. Classes require you to be there at a certain time. Many missions need to be completed at locations that have set hours. You also can't stay up all night because the game forces you to sleep at 2 a.m. I was very confused the first time Jimmy passed out, but later discovered the required sleep mechanic, and from there on I kept my eye on the clock. The few times I failed to make it to bed in time resulted in me being robbed while I was asleep. Not only does this game very much contain that signature Rockstar feel, but more specifically it contains a very strong GTA feel. The comparisons to GTA would take too long to list, but are worth quickly displaying because of just how many there are. They even found several ways to translate several of GTA's core elements here, but in a school setting, like Jimmy having to skateboard, bike, moped, or go-kart around because he isn't old enough to drive. Similar feeling GTA weapons are here, but in the form of non-lethal alternatives, like a slingshot, spud cannon, bottle rocket gun, etc, etc. The GTA connections don't end there. The respect system from San Andreas returns here. Throughout the game, while working with and against several of the various cliques, your respect levels for each will go up and down. Whatever your respect level is with a certain group will dictate how they treat you around town. Bully's strongest aspect to me is how fun and varied the gameplay loop is. Complete a story mission, then go to class. Complete a story mission, then go to class, and then go to bed and repeat. It really is immersive and addicting. Having to maintain your health, your crime status, your class schedule, your respect levels, your sleep, it's tough, but it's fun to balance. The 17 hours I spent on this game flew by because all of the different things there is to do. One moment you're destroying a property, next you're in detention mowing the lawn, next you're slingshotting bullies from a tree, next you're delivering papers. It's really wild. The missions vary so much in terms of how they're beaten. You will never find this game repetitive, trust me. The gameplay is further shaken up by the arcade cabinets scattered around the town, which contain simplistic yet full-fledged games to play. Also, like I said, with the seasons changing, you'll witness fall, winter, spring, and summer, which each provide a different vibe and keep the world feeling fresh. There are so many clever mechanics here, like the ability to hide in trash cans and lockers, the ability to kiss girls and guys for health. You can spray paint tags around the town like in The Warriors. While skateboarding, you can hold on to cars to hitch a ride. You can fast travel around the map using the bus. You can hire jocks as bodyguards. All fantastic features that make for a well-rounded gaming experience. Like I said before, for the most part, beating Bully wasn't too tricky, but that doesn't mean there weren't moments that caused a little sweat. Let's go over the parts in Bully where the difficulty picked up a bit. In my opinion, most of the difficulty found in Bully comes from the classes. All the rhythm-based courses like chemistry and music were a piece of cake. The objectives given in gym and photography also were no problem. Math required you to be on your toes a bit, but wasn't too bad. Biology did have some slim time constraints, but was also doable. Where things started to get difficult was with English, where in some of the later classes you had increasingly higher amounts of words that needed to be discovered. As the classes progressed, I definitely paused the game a few times in order to come up with the needed words for a high enough grade. Another class that needed pausing was geography. As the classes progressed, I became less and less knowledgeable on the locations, requiring me to embarrassingly have to look up a map or two. Shop class was one that was only hard because the requested inputs wouldn't register well. Each class you would be given a few chances to follow a sequence of button and joystick inputs, but man did the joystick commands just not work. I failed quite a few times because the game said I inputted the wrong spin direction, which I didn't. I discovered the faster you began to rotate, the more likely the game would read it as correct. And lastly, the class I struggled with the most was art class. During my playthrough, I never passed a single class. This was because of the directions for how to play the minigame were so confusing. Only later, when looking it up, did I discover you're supposed to box off parts of the picture while avoiding the enemies. Cool concept, just wish it was better explained. If I had to rank the classes in terms of difficulty, from easiest to hardest, it would go music, chemistry, gym, photography, biology, math, geography, English, shop, and then art. All the classes, whether you pass or fail them, remain on a schedule, so if I just failed, say art for the third time, I would just have to wait through a series of classes until I could try again. I didn't mind that feature, I think it's smart, I just hated falling behind in some classes while cruising through others. Besides the classes, there weren't too many other hard sections. The only parts of the game that gave me a hard time was the mission where you needed to free Galloway from the asylum. It wasn't necessarily that difficult, but had a ton of setup, which was not not fun to repeat multiple times, and the mission where I had to beat the top score on the Consumo arcade cabinet. That honestly was probably the hardest part in the game. Using your sumo character, you needed to grab the food while avoiding hazards, and it was not easy to reach the score they wanted. After multiple tries, I got it, but man was it frustrating. Other than that, because of the super solid controls and the boss battles being pretty cheesable, and the combat in general being so easy that weapons were rarely even required, altogether made for a pretty effortless playthrough. Now, when it comes to complaints I have with Bully, there aren't many. The little issues I have with the game are mostly surrounding the story. First, with its respect system. I like that it's here, I think it's a cool idea, but besides completing certain story missions, you can't change any of the respect levels with any of the groups. I think it would have been cool to have other unique non-story ways to raise or decrease your levels of respect in order to change how groups treat you or maybe add slight story deviation. I get why they did it how they did it, but I think if they allowed you to somewhat alter your respect levels outside of the story, it could have led to a really interesting mechanic. And second, with the story, where the hell is Gary beyond the first chapter? I get how he's supposed to be behind the scenes plotting against you, but it would have been nice to see him more throughout the game since he is the main villain. Yes, he makes a super brief cameo in chapter 3, but besides that, you only see him in the beginning and at the end. In the middle of the game, you just hear mention of him, that's it. I just think his main villain status would have held more weight, and the ending would have been way more impactful if we just saw him more in person. At least that's just me. I also can't go without mentioning the fact I dealt with a very annoying glitch on the mission cheating time. During it, I was tasked with taking a photo of one of the preppies selling a test, but because of a glitch, the prep would never walk into frame. I kept failing and retrying, then crash, then finally upon restarting, the prep would finally arrive so I could take the picture and finish the mission. Besides that though, no other major glitches were encountered. Overall, the game is incredibly well made. The story is for the most part very entertaining and the gameplay is incredibly fun and memorable. With Bully being, I'll now definitively say it, my favorite non-GTA Rockstar game up to this point. There are of course many qualities I loved about it, many that I have yet to mention. So here are all the mission moments, little details, and overall aspects that stood out to me during my playthrough. If I had to list my favorite moments during the story, my picks would have to be the Halloween mission where you feed a piece of rotten meat to a dog to make it shit and then you use it for a prank. I like the section where you had to use your Slingshot to defend the class president during a speech. Then there's the section where you need to destroy Santa's set while fighting off elves. There's also a part where you have to booby trap the football field. There's also this on-rail slingshot chase, the mascot dance section, just to name a few. When it comes to my favorite class, math, English, and geography were fun, but the best class has to be biology with all the different animal dissections. During some of them, you slice off some questionable looking appendages. There were parts that reminded me of other Rockstar titles, like the whole asylum portion giving off strong manhunt vibes. The funhouse section felt like Max Payne, and I was even reminded of Earthworm Jim 3D with the sewer platforming section. Besides the semi-lame Gary final fight, I did like the ending where you deal with each clique one by one, all while everyone is freaking out and fighting each other. That part especially reminded me a ton of San Andreas' ending. To list off some more things I liked, the soundtrack is so good and fitting to the gameplay. It's really unlike any music I've heard for a game before. I also love the costumes that you had access to here. Bunch of goofy ones which were fun to sneak into cutscenes. I also like the ability to customize your hairstyle and even get tattoos. Also, I love the Carnival. There were so many things to do at it. Ride rides, play games, race go-karts, enter the freak show tent where you can see a bunch of wacky characters and even bet on some little fighters. Many of the attractions even give you tickets which can then be used for prizes. I can't go over every little thing I enjoyed because there's just so much. The game is just jam-packed with so much detail that it's easy to miss all the little things the developers snuck in. Lastly, I just have to praise the map design. Not only do the locations look great, are fun to explore, and just ooze atmosphere, but I never once got lost or had a hard time navigating around. The developers really put in a lot of thought into map flow and how the missions interact with the town's layout. To briefly touch on the multiplayer, it's not what you might think it is. Instead of having 2 players roam around the world, it's instead just a collection of minigames from the story. People give this mode a lot of crap, but I had fun playing it. The developers easily could have chose to not include it, but they did, and I commend them for that. If you can't already tell, I had a great time with Bully. Such a great time that I've been dying to get back in and finish the rest of the classes, finish all the side missions, get the high scores on all the arcade games, smash all the garden gnomes, collect the rest of the rubber bands and G&G cards, collect the rest of the awesome outfits, and just do more exploring around the town. When you combine the iconic characters, memorable missions, atmospheric map, fun minigames, and most importantly, one of the most unique gameplay loops in gaming, I think Bully might just enter at least my top 20 GOAT list. For Bully's difficulty rating, I give it a 5 out of 10. This game overall was not that hard, but the unique skills needed for some of the classes and a few tricky missions during the story did have me struggling at times. For the fun factor rating, I give it a 9 out of 10. The varied missions with all their special mechanics combined with all the different minigames and the dense open world, the unique mission concepts, and again those classes with their engaging gameplay, it all led to a genuine fun time. The question asked by many is, will there ever be a Bully 2? Well, details did leak a while back regarding a sequel that at one time was being worked on. It was said to revolve around Jimmy staying at his stepdad's mansion over summer vacation, but other than that and some interesting looking concept art that surfaced, that's all we know. Given the slightly taboo nature of the game, with the inclusion of bullying and all that, I don't see a sequel happening, but maybe some sort of spiritual successor. We can maybe hope for that. With this 23rd game over and done with, the running game completion time total increases to 357 hours. Catch you on the next episode.